Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. During a session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, spoke about freedom, environmental protection and the Polish definition of the word prosperity. Today was the final day of the Polish President's visit to the United States.
During the summit of the United Nations held on Tuesday, the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, touched on a few key matters, among others peace, environmental protection and prosperity.
W imieniu Polski zgłosiłem.
On behalf of Poland, I reported 5 initiatives which we've been implementing or which we will implement in the near future. The goal of these initiatives is, among others, reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
When it comes to the matter of world peace, Duda referred to the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War, which we recently celebrated. He said that past experiences should be treated as a lesson which we should never forget.
I am deeply convinced that the time to draw conclusions from the past experiences has come. We have to stop making the same mistakes. Poland, a country especially experienced in this matter, has a moral duty to take the floor in the name of peace and freedom.
Duda emphasized that in order to achieve world peace, we have to respect the international rule of law.
I want to say it again. Every country has an equal right to self-determination. Poland is an advocate of independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity. The borders of the countries cannot be changed by force.
In his speech, the US President Donald Trump spoke about freedom in a similar way. He said that we should reject globalization.
And all over this large, magnificent planet, the truth is plain to see. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. If you want democracy, hold on to your sovereignty. And if you want peace, love your nation. Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
On December 31st, Poland will end its 2-year membership of the United Nations Security Council.
The Neckermann Polska travel agency, owned by bankrupt British tour operator Thomas Cook, has declared insolvency. This spells trouble for over 3,500 customers who had booked their holidays with Neckermann. Consular services and the Marshal's office of the Mazowiecki Voivodeship are working to rescue them from this problem.
Neckermann Poland declared insolvency in the office of the Marshal of the Mazowiecki Voivodeship. Due to the current situation, we suspend all operational activities related to the sale of tourist products in Poland. The immediate reason for the above activities is the announcement on September 23, 2019 of bankruptcy by Thomas Cook, the owner of 100% shares in Neckermann Poland. I would like to point out that the Polish branch, despite its stable financial condition, cannot function independently without its parent company. We assume taking care of the tourists. We will try to help them to return to the country, or if possible, to continue their stay until the very end, and of course, then to return to the country at the previously indicated date in accordance with the trip. The Marshal of the Mazowiecki Voivodeship has already begun the procedure aimed at calling on the company's financial security in the form of 2 insurance guarantee contracts. He is also in contact with the guarantor, Allianz Partners. Those who bought a trip but did not yet depart may claim or apply for a refund from the guarantee fund from the insurance guarantee that Neckermann Poland has with Allianz. If these funds are missing, of course, there is still a guarantee fund in accordance with the Act, but I think that the money that is in the first and second guarantee, that is 25 and 30 million zloty, should be enough. Tourists who are in trouble after the declaration of bankruptcy of Neckermann Poland can count on the help of Polish consular offices.
A guide entitled The Teacher's Right to Teach in Accordance with Their Conscience is to help counter the invasion of LGBT ideology into Polish schools. Teachers are increasingly the target of pressure from the promoters of homosexual ideology. The guide has been prepared by the Institute for Legal Culture, Ordo Iuris.
Guide, The Right for Teachers to Teach in Accordance with Their Conscience, was prepared by experts of the Institute for Legal Culture, Ordo Iuris. It arose after a case concerning a teacher and a city supervisor in Bydgoszcz, Krystian Frelichowski, who was threatened with losing his job after he posted on his Facebook profile an entry encouraging the purchase of the weekly Gazeta Polska with a sticker expressing disapproval of LGBT ideology. No one told me directly, only the head of the Pomeranian newspaper said that you need to draw conclusions for me. Then the principal issued a statement on the school's website that the school disassociates itself from my views and is considering releasing me. I emphasized that despite divergent political views, cooperation with the local officials and the principal is important for the good of children. In my opinion, they have fallen victim to this ideology because if you are not with us, you are our enemy. The guide reminds you of such rights as freedom of religion or the obligation of public authorities to remain impartial in matters of religious beliefs. This guide was created in response to actions concerning promoting influence on teachers, intimidating them, convincing them that LGBT is the only valid ideology.
Wpływ rodziców na treści przekazywane dzieciom.
According to the lawyers of the Ordo Iuris Institute, secularism in schools is a myth, and in 1991, the Constitutional Court indicated that such a provision is contrary to the principle of a democratic state of law, because in a democratic state, there is freedom of conscience and religion, including the right to wear religious symbols or place crosses in rooms. It can be useful for a teacher because not every teacher knows how to behave. At the moment, in this civilization, we have a stage of such a little gorilla, so if you can fire a school employee, or as we had the case of IKEA, then this is the side that will win in one conflict. It will be able to work for it. Previously, the Ordo Iuris Institute prepared a similar guide for parents about their rights at school.
The political chaos in the United Kingdom has reached a level unprecedented in modern times. Parliament, which had been prorogued by the Queen at the request of Prime Minister Boris Johnson, today resumed its sitting as a result of a Supreme Court judgment which held that since the decision to advise the Queen to prorogue Parliament was unlawful, there had in effect been no prorogation. Nobody now knows how the Brexit saga will end.
The Prime Minister of Great Britain has arrived back in London. Boris Johnson had to interrupt his stay in the United States in order to explain himself to Parliament. The suspension of the British Parliament began on September 10th and was planned by the government to last until October 14th. Shortly after 11:30 local time, the Commons Speaker John Bercow welcomed the MPs back to the chamber. He thanked them for arriving at such short notice. He also recalled that the Supreme Court had ruled that the prorogation was of no effect, and so formally this was a continuation of the proceedings which were interrupted on September 9th. John Bercow explained that today there would be no traditional Wednesday Prime Minister's questions. Instead, Boris Johnson would have to make a statement explaining his decision unlawfully to ask the Queen to prorogue Parliament.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the map of the night. Temperature will little rise on the south to 14 degrees in Rzeszów. In other regions, temperature will range from 4 to 8 degrees. Some rainfalls will appear over Poznań, Zielona Góra, Warszawa and Lublin. In the rest of the country, light overcast is expected. Cloudless sky around Białystok and Lublin. And now over to tomorrow. Alternating rain and sunlight are expected. Rainfall will appear especially in Zielona Góra and Szczecin. Temperatures will fall to 15 degrees on the northeast. Wind will be gusty. Temperature will drop. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Friday will be a rainy day in most regions. The highest temperatures, 21 degrees, will appear in central Poland. Some mixed rain and sun is expected across the Poland on Saturday. A maximum temperature will be 20 degrees. On Sunday, more sunlight is expected. Rainfalls will appear only on the southwest. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Welcome to the show, Poland Daily Business. About 5 weeks from now, there is a designated date for Brexit, single most important event in the history of European Union so far. First time ever, this organization will be smaller and less important on the world stage. If the Brexit will happen. Jerzy Brzeziński of British Polls is with us. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello.
You wrote the article saying that regardless what will happen in the next few weeks, you are going to stay in the United Kingdom. You will not re-immigrate to Poland.
Not yet, at least. My article was a response to the letter of the Polish ambassador, Professor Arkady Żegocki, who called for Poles to apply for settled status. Apparently, there's a very low percentage of Poles who have done so, and it is obligatory in order to stay in the United Kingdom to apply for the settled status. His Excellency also added that Poles should consider going back to Poland because the economy is booming, it's a safe country, plenty of investment. People just love Poland. He's certainly right about the country, our country, but many Poles are not planning to come back yet, and I'm one of them.
It's not that easy to get the settled status. You are mentioning the one of the story. Can you tell it for us?
Yes, for some reason, strangely, there's a big chaos, as you can imagine, with the numbers of applications. I think it's tens of thousands daily of applications that the Home Office is working on. And I have a friend, Damian Wawrzyniak, who is a very popular Polish chef. He's got a restaurant. Now he's opening new pierogi kiosks, which is just a phenomenal way to promote Polish cuisine, Polish culture. He cooked for the royal family, and even he, when he applied, he didn't receive the full settled status. He received the pre-settled status, which is not what people are after. And because he made a big fuss about it, he's got plenty of media contacts. He went to Sky News, BBC, was all over the news, and he got the status right after. So
what about those who are just plumbers and nobody notices their presence?
Exactly. There's a very large number of Poles who are voiceless. They do not have those media contacts, and there's some of them, I think, are struggling with the settled status. Maybe they are not receiving it because they haven't worked for a brief period of time, or because they didn't live at an apartment. They lived, for example, at a friend's house. There's many of such situations, and I'm just very worried that there will be a number of Polish and European people who will have to go through problems because of the whole application.
And we don't know yet how whole Brexit thing will end up, because the Britons didn't decide by themselves. What the Britons say about that? I mean, do they know they are laughing stock all over Europe right now?
Sadly, they are realizing this, whether it's people who are against Brexit or for Brexit. It's a very difficult situation, and I don't think it's that popular, but it happens, where the majority of population voted for something, but the majority of parliament doesn't want it to happen. We're looking at the main political parties, except maybe for, let's say, half of Conservatives are for Brexit, half are against. There's different numbers. They do not have the numbers to vote Brexit through. And that's why we're looking at this confusion, mess, very embarrassing for the government. Boris Johnson, as a very hard-line, tough leader, he's not managing to make Brexit happen. But we'll see what the upcoming weeks will bring to us.
That's true. Is that uncertainty has any reflects on the British economy right now?
Oh, absolutely. That is the key thing that I hear from British businessmen or Polish businessmen that I speak to daily. They're telling me the uncertainty is the biggest issue. Some of them who don't want Brexit, they say, make Brexit happen because they want to plan. They cannot make a business plan where you don't know what the tariffs will be, you don't know what your workforce will be, you don't know what trade agreements you will have. It is putting a very negative emotion around Brexit now, this uncertainty for businesses.
The Polish government reaction is obvious. We have lack of qualified workers right now on all levels, I guess from the executive level to the shop floor, and the influx or the return of at least part of this about 1 million of Poles who since 2004 make their living in the United Kingdom would be a great economical asset to the present day Poland. But lots of people don't want to change their status. They still think that United Kingdom is the place for them to leave.
Yes, although I think it is changing because more and more I hear from my friends and colleagues that they are planning to go back to Poland. Usually the argument that I hear is when they want to set up a family, they want to do it in Poland as a more safe, more welcoming country. Although United Kingdom has a very strong social support for families, so people do decide to make their living there. But I think more and more often you will have Poles coming back from the UK to Poland because of the job opportunities. I know some students that finished very good London and Oxbridge universities. They're coming back because they're being offered very good jobs here in Warsaw or in other cities around Poland.
What Polish government or Polish state can do for Polish citizens who choose to live in the United Kingdom right now?
For those that are staying there or not?
Yeah, let's say for those who decided to stay for a while.
You know, as they say, the best thing that a government can do is just stay away. Some people say no, but I would say at this moment the support for the status of Poles living in the UK, I have a feeling a lot of people feel very vulnerable. They do not know what will happen to them because of Brexit, and I know there's an increasing number of Polish ministers coming to visit, organizing bilateral talks with the Minister of Energy, I think is coming in a few days to London. So there's a lot of that. It's good, but there needs to be more. Poles want to feel safe and their status for them to be safe. Nobody wants to be suddenly told off, you've got to return to your country. They're not, some of them are not ready for it.
The Brexit referendum campaign was very much about Poles who came to Britain in order to take jobs of the regular Britons. They spinning this with the hatred on the streets and so on. Do we have anything, has anything left out of this, or we have now situation that...
I don't think there is a mass anti-Polish sentiment. As I spoke to some hardline Brexiteers, they tell me they have nothing against people from Poland, Bulgaria or whatever country. The issue is the numbers. And I sort of understand it. If suddenly to a small city of 20,000 you have 10,000 immigrants. It's a big shock sometimes, even with such wonderful immigrants as the Polish people who go to church and work hard and study hard. But it's the numbers, and I sort of understand it. I think after Brexit, Britain will still welcome Poles, but they just want to control the numbers a bit better.
But their status will be different because they will not longer be citizens of European Union as protected by this organization.
That's true.
Jerzy Byczyński, you can find more about Poles in the United Kingdom, Googling British Poles, and you will probably find out one of the websites or fan pages managed by Jerzy Byczyński, sir. Thank you very much for this conversation, and that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Alternating rain and sunlight are expected. Rainfalls will appear especially in Zielona Góra and Szczecin. Temperature will fall to 15 degrees on the northeast. Wind will be gusty, the pressure will drop. And now let's see tomorrow's forecast for the continent. On the south of Europe, temperature will rise. The highest temperature we will see in Athens and Madrid, 28 degrees. Warmer in Scandinavia, and there the temperature will range from 10 to 14 degrees. In Central Europe and on British Islands, more rainfalls are expected. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. Have you ever wanted to meet a magician? Today you've got a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, Magician Y.
Hello.
Thank you for being with us. Hopefully he won't make us all disappear. But let's ask him a few questions. So we live in a 21st century and magicians are quite rare today. How did you become one?
I think there are more magicians than there was ever in the history of human beings because of the internet, right? So people have more role models, so they want to become magicians. As me, I was fascinated by magicians in TV like David Copperfield, early 90s, and David Blaine. And then I wanted to be one. I had the story when my father, when I was 3 years old, he showed me the trick. And then after a couple of times, he explained it to me. But I was fascinated by other magicians, so naturally I would try to find, the way to get the knowledge in order to perform magic. And if you want to do something with the opportunities that we have nowadays, that basically like 99% of information that you want to access, you can access through web browser. Then if you're really, really motivated to do that, then you will find, like, sometimes, for me it was easy. I realized that there has to be books about it, and I just searched for books. And then, throughout the books, then I learned some names for the stuff that is happening, so it was easier to search. And then I found other magicians. They would help me out. They would tell me about more books. So for me, it was really important. And in my home city, Węgorzewo, and if somebody's from Węgorzewo, maybe they have origins in Węgorzewo. I don't know. I have.
We greet all people of Węgorzewo for today. Hopefully you're watching Poland Daily Culture.
Mazuri unite. But anyway, I try to help, and if I would go to library when I was young, when I was in Węgorzewo, when I was like 6 or 7, I wouldn't find anything about magic. And for me, it was really important that in all the libraries in the small city, so in a school or public library, there will be books about magic. So I wanted to do that, and we do that, and I try to even though it's not maybe magic, because we have a high school class that they're teaching their YouTube, so they can become YouTube creators. It's a new thing.
Really, you have a class in
so there's
Węgorzewo
my friend who is my camera guy, and also he has his own YouTube channel on a daily basis. He has the class, but I'm like curating the class and the knowledge that they have, and I'll be coming there every couple of months. And for me, it is really, I'm imagining myself living in a small city. I was fortunate enough to move out to bigger city to have more opportunities, but I'm imagining myself growing up in this city, and I would want them to have similar opportunities. It doesn't matter if it's magic, so they're like, I have photos of like 5 books that I would be dreaming about when I was starting out magic, and they're in public high school, and there is like basically a section called magic. It should be right next to the Harry Potter, but yeah, they still think Harry Potter is a fiction, but anyway, it's not. But for me, it's important. It doesn't matter if they want to be, YouTube creators, singers, or whatever. I want them to have the same opportunities that I have because I was living in a bigger city, and that's what I'm trying to do. So, to help them out, maybe there are so many talents that maybe won't ever be fortunate enough to find the sources to learn magic. But I still think in the same way that I want to provide opportunities, I still think that if somebody wants to do something, they will do it. And if they stop, that means they didn't want it enough. So if you want to do something, then just never stop. Just never stop following your passion. Even though you're not in the passion yet, but you feel really passionate about being in the passion of magic, for example, then try to find out stuff. But now it's easier, I have DVDs, you can go on my website, and
absolutely. But do you or did you or do you have still any mentors?
I never had a mentor. I have people that I will consider a mentor, but they are not mentoring like me every day. They are just legends of magic that I'm looking up to.
Which are?
Luc Germain, I mentioned, but he's also a writer for Dynamo, who probably everybody knows. He's a really famous magician. I really like his style. He brings magic to the pop culture. But my favorite are Darren Brown. He's a British mentalist, and David Blaine. who is an American magician, crazy stuntman. The stuff he does is some crazy stuff. I met both of them, and I told them that they're like I told to David Blaine and Darren Brown that they're both my biggest inspiration. But in the future, I want to be a mix of David Blaine and Darren Brown, but with better hair, because clearly I do have better hair. I think I have better hair. Dynamo, Darren Brown, David Blaine, they are just the figures. Of course, David Copperfield, but he has a different style of magic. But for me, it's a huge inspiration, and I always look up for those people, and I'm really impressed. And the more I get into the big stuff, like creating some bigger performances or going into TV, the more respect I have for all of these individuals, because creating this story like this through the TV, which people would be naturally assuming that it's all fake, but I know for a fact the people that I said they are not doing fake stuff. Just to convince people through the screen, it doesn't matter if it's TV or computer or phone, but convince people that this is real magic, and they do. For me, it's really powerful. So I really want to still learn from them, and do it even better.
How do you learn new tricks?
I don't think about new tricks. So as I told you the other talk we had a week ago in the same clothes. I told you that I am always thinking about the story. So for me, I like to sometimes take a new trick. Some magician would share with me a trick, and I would just do it for myself for fun. But generally, I would just think first of a story, and then I would search in my mind if I know the trick or the method, or I can combine something, or I can change something in order to fulfill that story. So the example with Robert Lewandowski, that would be probably the most famous example of mine. When you have a playing card teleporting from the deck of cards to the soccer or football ball, then it's a classic of magic. It's called card to impossible location. And throughout my career, I think I've done at least a 15 version of the same trick. Card was behind the window, card was in a lemon, card was in someone's pocket. It's the same trick, So it's a classic of magic, but I wanted to do it with something that was valuable for him, which is a ball. For me, playing cards makes sense to connect like this. So it's a classic of magic, but it gets new life. So after layperson, a muggle we call layperson, would watch
layperson, so a muggle is a layperson.
Yeah.
Actually, amazing. So there is this division. J.K. Rowling was right.
Yeah, so we call muggles, but most of the times we call layperson. So but there is a word, yeah, of course. People that are watching this, they are not assuming, it's a classic of magic done by, David Blaine 25 years ago. No, because it's something that wasn't done for a soccer player yet, to teleport the card to the ball, which is impossible, because Robert knows probably very well, but people that are interested in soccer, they know how the balls are made, and they know that there is impossible to fit something inside. And also this one was this pro ball, which is glued to so it's like the more somebody is interested in football and soccer, the more they will be impressed by this. So, and of course we destroyed $100 ball. So yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it went to a charity auction, I believe. But yeah, it's for me, it's always about this story. And people that will be watching this, they won't assume it's something they know, because it's maybe the same story, but tell in different way. And if you look at Hollywood, right, it's always the same stories. The same stories that were in old books, actually, before movies. But if you take a great story that people know and you remake it to today, then you have a hit story.
So we're waiting for another hit story. I think it's time.
Yeah, let's try it out. So I thought it's the last magic, right?
Yes.
So I thought it will be interesting to do something crazy.
I'm afraid a bit. Hopefully I won't lose anything.
So in a previous episode, you've probably seen that I know your PIN code, but just you have to change it probably. So I'll unlock it, and I'm unlocking the phone.
He unlocking the phone with the PIN code he already discovered before.
Yeah, and I will search here for a calculator, and in the calculator I put it 1 digit, and I don't want you to see, but I know for a fact that camera is seeing the digit, right? So I want you to close your eyes, and I'll try to, instead of reading your mind as I did with PIN code, I will try to influence you to think of something specific. And 1 digit is a good try.
Yes.
So I want you to close your eyes, and as soon as you open your eyes, I will tell you to do something. Open your eyes and think of the first number that pops to your mind, from 0 to 9.
1.
Looks like 1, right? It's 7, but it's maybe you've seen it in your, but you know, it wouldn't be impressive, right? Because this is just 10%, right?
Yeah.
So can you name 2 more digits?
8.
8 and
9.
9, okay. I would go and multiply, and I want you to just say 3 more digits.
3.
3,
4.
4,
and 6.
6. And then I will go multiply, so we have already a big number.
Yes.
But what I want you to do is secretly put 3 more digits. Just put 3 more digits. Go
Yes.
hit plus,
Yes.
and put like 6 or 7 digits.
6 or 7.
Yeah, just random. Don't try to remember them. And then maybe multiply and 2-digit.
Multiply, yes?
Yeah, 2-digit and equals, and we will see if we have a big number. We have a big number?
We have a very big number.
So you were adding, I don't know what you did exactly,
Yes.
but you were adding, you were multiplying, and
Yes, I
adding,
was
so any number could be.
Yes.
But can I see the number? How many digits are these?
9 digits.
9 digits, okay. So do you think that I was able to influence you to think of those 9 digits, to make this 9 digit, to create randomly those 9 digits?
No.
No, right? Okay, so here is an idea. Can you copy those digits?
Copy them?
Yeah, copy. So if you tap like this,
Yes, I copied.
it should copy. And I want you to go into the phone. So we will try to do something crazy. So crazy coincidence.
Yes.
What if in Poland, 9 digits is a phone number, right?
Yes.
So what if we call this person and you ask what's your name? And the person that will reply, they will reply Maria, which is your name. That
Yes.
would be crazy, right?
That would be crazy.
Pretty crazy, right? So out of all the numbers that you could create,
Okay, so out of all the numbers, we created them in the calculator. And now I'm going...
yeah, go to the, perfect. Is that the same number?
Yes.
Is that the number that you added and multiplied?
Yes, it's the
Okay.
number when I added and multiplied.
So here's an idea. I want you to call that number.
Let's go to the calculator so everyone can see as well that
They trust you.
it is the same number.
Yeah.
It is the number which we created totally randomly. I myself, I have nothing to do with it.
I want you to just call this number and put it on the speaker, and as soon as
Okay, I'm
somebody
calling
will,
a number. We're calling someone during...
yeah, like a prank call, but as soon as somebody would pick up, I don't want you to say hello. I don't want you to introduce yourself because obviously your name. I want you to just say what's your name, okay? Go ahead. Like,
We will ask...
sorry, somebody's calling me. I know it's unprofessional, but hello? Hello? I'm asking.
What's your name?
Maria. Is that your number?
Crazy. That's my number, and now
I
he
won't
has
show.
my number.
I won't show.
And now, additionally, he has my number as well. That's just impossible because I added all numbers which just randomly.
And now the viewers understand why the numbers on the calculator were blurred out. Because it's my number, so you can call me.
You can call our magician, and we recommend you to do it. And thank you.
Please email
and
me.
thank you for
Don't call me.
watching Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you so much.
Behind me, the Pałac Podlachem here in Warsaw. This is the home of Prince Józef Poniatowski. His home, the place where he had his famous parties, also the War Office. Who was Józef Poniatowski? He was in fact a major figure in Polish history. Patriot, general, Minister of War, sometime Marshal of France. Join me in this episode of Poland Daily History, where we learn more about this remarkable Polish figure. So he was not sort of completely, he wasn't leading the life of a monk, certainly.
These are not such vices that people wouldn't forgive
but I think
him.
we tried also, I think, to try to give a flavour of the man, and who was, other people remember him.
Full blood.
Yes, as this great military leader and this sort of hero of Poland. And so, but it's also, I think, useful to give a picture of the overall, try and get the overall character of the man. And I think at one point, one of his guests here was the brother of Louis XVI, who then became eventually Louis XVIII of France. So it's quite interesting that
is correct.
That he would have as a guest somebody whose actual brother would actually, funnily enough, be executed as part of the revolution, and then eventually Joseph came to be working for Napoleon I, which is actually quite an interesting idea of how in that time people didn't seem to bear quite the same grudges they might bear now. And you can't imagine that happening in the modern world.
That's a very nice case study that, yes, he was future Louis XVIII, who was an enemy to Napoleon. That is. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't look at it from this perspective. It is really interesting.
Well, I suppose, yeah, if you move in those sort of circles, I mean, politics becomes sort of secondary to this idea of.
If you get along with somebody,
exactly,
I mean,
and I did, and then of course we get to the stage where he took some persuading, but eventually there was the Grand Duchy of Warsaw was,
one thing to clarify, because realize that people say Duchy of Warsaw or Grand Duchy of Warsaw interchangeably,
but they are
which is not quite correct, because of course it's a detail. Duchy of Warsaw, that was the initial state that was created in 1807, yes. And it was augmented in 1809, after the victorious campaign in Galicia against Austria, and only after that we should call the Duchy of Warsaw the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, le Grand Duché de Varsovie.
Because there was some extra territory.
So that's why it's grand.
A sort of clawing back of some of the territory that had been lost as a result of the partition.
The old capital of Poland, that is Kraków. That's not nothing.
No, not at all. No. And of course, Poniatowski
was the author of the concept. Very, very brave, because now imagine you are after a battle that is indecisive. I mean, the Battle of Russian, 19th of April 1809, and then you took the decision to abandon the city. I mean, Warsaw, the capital. It might have had a very bad psychological impact.
Well, as you mentioned, it was at one point Prince Poniatowski was repeating a prior mistake.
That's what the public opinion was saying, that he's repeating the same mistake. And yet, he crossed the river and flanked, in a sense, the Austrian army by entering to Galicia, to the Lublin region first, Sandomierz, and then to Krakow. The Austrians were they were certain that it would be a very easy campaign. And they sent, I think, the least talented commander, Prince Ferdinand d'Este. And it was to be a very, very short and victorious campaign for the Austrians. Luckily, it didn't.
But as a soldier, as a commander, military commander, I think Prince Joseph was actually personally quite brave. I mean, there are stories of him sort of joining, bayonet attacks with infantry and sort of getting not a general on the hilltop behind, but really in the thick of the fighting.
At Russian and the Battle of Russian, at some point he joined the ranks literally. I mean, with his bayonet, fighting as a simple soldier. So he was personally very, very brave.
Which I think is, again, you might think a prince or somebody who's been living this sort of slightly debauched life in Warsaw, but only a few years before might have been incapable of actually getting stuck into the horror or the cut and thrust of battle in a literal sense. But of course, there he was, which is probably why he's obviously by many people seen as such as a great commander, because it wasn't theory, it was actually practice. Getting stuck in with the
At
soldiers.
the Battle of Leipzig, in which he eventually died, he refused to flee from the battlefield. I mean, he said that that God bestowed him. These are I'm trying to translate. Bestowed him the Polish honor, and it is only to God that he will give it back.
So if we just if we just sort of think about immediately when he's entered Krakow and restored Galicia, what did Prince Joseph do next? So we're thinking of the period immediately after 1809.
What he does next is to take care of installing Polish administration.
So he came
in
back?
Galicia.
Yes.
So it took a couple of months, and then he had a triumphal entry to Warsaw. The Arc of Triumph was built to his welcome, simply. Then in 1810 and mostly 1811, he's taking care of the political safety of Poland. That is to say, because Napoleon is hesitating at that time.
I think Napoleon was a bit
whether to attack Russia or not. And Prince Joseph was traveling to Paris, of course, under official.
But I think it's right to say that Napoleon was a little wary in the early of Prince Joseph. He didn't, although he ultimately became Minister of War and Commander-in-Chief of the forces. In the early stages, the French were a bit, or Napoleon particularly, wasn't keen to give him supreme command at the very beginning.
Correct. At the very beginning, when the Duchy of Warsaw was created, and Prince Joseph was granted the Ministry of War, because that was the name at that time. It's today that we say Ministry of National Defense.
But Ministry of War, exactly. I think in the United Kingdom we had the Ministry of War as late as sometime in the 1960s.
There you go.
So we had the Ministry of War, the Air Ministry, and the Admiralty. And then it was all amalgamated to this sort of rather anodyne-sounding Ministry of Defense.
Yeah, these euphemistic, terms that don't that conceal the truth.
Yeah. If only they did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Poland Daily, another exciting excerpt from the fantastic small town of Sierpz in Mazowsze. Yes, Mazowsze?
Mazowsze, beautiful.
Did I say it all right?
Exactly.
I'm always checking my pronunciation. I should be more confident. In Mazowsze. Did that convince I didn't convince anybody, did it? We're here with Małgorzata Błaszczak and Arthur Gorniewski, and we are in a manor house. This manor house was here with the land, surrounding land, about 60 hectares, which eventually was made into this living museum, which in Polish is called a skansen.
That's true. We are now in the manor house, and this manor house was here before our museum was established. Here in this place there was Bojanowo estate, and the owners of Bojanowo lived here in the exact place. But unfortunately, it's not the exact building, because after the Second World War, the previous building was almost completely damaged. So we had to rebuild it in 1980. So this is the place where very wealthy people used to live. So as you can see, the interior is quite nice. It's quite expensive also, we can say.
Elegant.
Elegant.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah.
So here we have rooms like the quite spacious entrance hall. There is also a kitchen on our right side. There is a study and office on our left side. And we are standing now in the living room. And from the living room, you can also see a bedroom and also a dining room on the other side.
It's been furnished very elaborately in the, well, some people would say cluttered Victorian style. It's a familiar style to me. A lot of people in the South, I remember as a kid, used to have homes with this amount of furniture in Savannah, Charleston, places like that, Williamsburg. Was it very, this is a recreation based on photographs and paintings of what the houses would have looked like at the time?
That's right. It's the typical example of the way how the typical Mazovian 19th century manor house could look like.
And have you ever seen anything like this, Arthur?
I love this. I've seen some places in Warsaw, in Poland, and I love this one the most. And I also mean this particular property that we are visiting. We are facing the entrance. So imagine your guests coming over. This is how you host them. This is the living room that they are entering first. There is the dining room, beautifully connected with the kitchen over there, with a little bit of local resources of the countryside. And then you can take a look at the bedroom, which looks so cozy and elegant and classy. But you can take a look. Even if you are a guest, maybe if these curtains are a little bit opened, just like at the moment, you can take a look at this beautifully organized bedroom, which is also connected with the study room. And in between the study room and the main entrance that we are standing in front of at the moment, there is this little place where you can show off with your trophies, where there are very nice chairs, and it's a little bit dark, cozy atmosphere over there. There are nice crystal glasses over there to host your friend for a chat after a long week or a month or a year of cooperation, and maybe another gentleman, an owner of such property in another village, can come over and you can spend classy time in a very nice circumstances, and everything's organized in a rectangular area. So simple, so beautifully organized, and thank you very much, Gosia, for showing us all of this.
Yeah, what I like, absolutely, Arthur, you've both summed it up so well. I have hardly anything to add, but I just wanted to comment on something that you said, which was, if you go, each one has a door through to the next room. So it's a constant circulation, and that is missing in a lot of modern houses. And it is very convenient, I would think. You can leave it open or close the door, but everything's connected and it runs like this. So though it's not there's also an upstairs, but although it's not a huge house, it seems to have a lot of room. And I think that's, it's not a very big house, is it?
But perfectly organized.
But perfectly organized. And you know, it's almost as if I wish modern planners of houses would look at a plan like this and say, you know what? This is the way we should be making houses, rather than this cubicle situation with rooms shut off that we seem to have.
With like one hall, and I go either this way or this way or that way, and that's it.
It's very logically organized, and the rooms flow one into the next, you see. So everything modern is not always better than everything in the past.
I agree 100%, and that says, what a pearl We have just 1.5 hours away from the capital city of Poland.
Absolutely. You come here, and we were just remarking as well before about how peaceful it is here.
Yes.
And it's a very nice, quiet atmosphere and restful. So I can see, I guess you have a lot of visitors who like to come here, don't you?
Yeah, that's true. We have many of them through the year, mostly on weekends, and especially Sundays, of course.
Gosia, so that's your favorite manor in this museum, or maybe you have some other your little favorite place in here?
Yeah, I think that it's one of my favorite here. But we also have the second one.
Okay, let's.
You have another manor house?
Yeah.
Is it bigger than this one or different?
It's quite big. It's quite big. I can say that it's
And
bigger.
a bit different from this one, yeah?
A bit different because it's from some time before.
Right, and we got to see some farmhouses as well.
That's
So we have a lot to see. Okay, well, I guess that's it for right now from here. Okay, folks, stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We're going to go look at some farms. How many farms are here? 10?
10.
10 farms.
That's right.
Good Lord, we're going to be walking all day. It's 60 hectares. You're not going to make us plow, are you? Are we going to have to go and work in the fields as well before we leave?
If you want to.
If we want
I
to.
understand. I start preparing then.
Well, do we get a nice meal if we do that? We go work in the fields?
I found it out they have a good restaurant, good sausage.
They have a good restaurant. Okay, so maybe we'll check out the restaurant a bit later. All right, stay with us. More of Poland Daily Travel in the next exciting installment from the Polish countryside. See you later.